We want people to be successful. We want to celebrate that. That is a good thing. We have a fair tax system, as has been said before.
Does he stand by his statement, quote, "We've got to get the right leaders into these big agencies and big departments. They're big organisations, and when you get the right leader at the top, it makes all the difference through the organisation," end quote. If so, is he confident that the Health Commissioner he appointed is the right person at the top of the health system?
Yes and yes.
Supplementary question. Does he stand by his decision to appoint Health Commissioner Lester Levy, given that only 6 months later a task force has reportedly been established to rewrite the turnaround plan that the Commissioner himself was appointed to come up with?
Well, I'll just say this government inherited a botched merger of the healthcare system. Health outcomes went backwards under the last government, and we are doing everything we can to turn it around. Labor voted against us putting $17 billion more, a record investment into healthcare. Are you saying you don't want us to tackle the bureaucracy so that we can get better outcomes for New Zealanders? We do.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
A point of order. The Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister's tirade about the previous government or what the Labor Party has decided didn't actually address the question, which is whether or not he stands by the decision to appoint Lester Levy as the Commissioner, given that there is now supposedly a task force rewriting the plan that the Commissioner was appointed to come up with.
Well, thank you for informing the House of what the question was. The Prime Minister might like to respond very, very briefly to that question.
Yes.
Supplementary question. How can anyone in a leadership role in our health system have confidence that he'll back them after Shane Retty was sacked as Minister of Health, the Chief Executive of Health New Zealand went, the Director General of our health system went, the Director of Public Health went, Health New Zealand's entire health board went, and most of the remaining senior leadership in the health system have all fallen victim to his culture of deflection and blame?
Well, New Zealanders can have confidence that we actually are here to improve the healthcare system with a record investment of $17 billion, of dealing with a $2 billion fiscal cliff under Pharmac, by funding $604 million for cancer drugs, putting more money into the healthcare system than has ever happened in the history of New Zealand, being determined to fix the bureaucracy so that we improve health outcomes for New Zealanders, which went backwards under that last government.
Supplementary. Did he indicate he didn't have confidence in the Director General of Health prior to her resignation? If so, to whom did he express that lack of confidence?
No, those are issues for Health New Zealand.
How frequently has he met with or communicated with the Health Commissioner?
Probably, I can give you, I'll go back through my diary and tell you, but several times last year. Several times last year.
Supplementary question. Why should New Zealanders have any confidence that the latest turnaround plan for the turnaround plan will work, given so far all his government has delivered is chaos in health system leadership, a hiring freeze on frontline roles, hospital rebuild delays and cutbacks, and worsening health outcomes for New Zealand patients?
The Labor Party used to say that health was one of their core equities, and they ended up running the healthcare system into the ground. How do you botch a merger of 20 DHBs, throw a whole bunch of management on top? We're putting more money in, we're fixing the system, and we will deliver health outcomes that you failed to do in 6 years, including 3 years with an absolute majority.
Question 3, Chloe Swabrick.
To the Prime Minister.
Mr. Swabrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister. E tautoko ana ia I ngā kōrero me ngā mahi katoa a tōna kāwanatanga.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, and especially our action to deliver affordable housing to help Kiwis with the cost of living. For many, the cost of housing is incredibly difficult. It's their biggest expense, whether it's their mortgage payments each week or whether it's their weekly rent. And the good news is whichever way you look at housing, we're actually making sure we're bringing interest rates down so that Kiwis have more money in their pockets. We have stable rents. We have a reduction in the people on the social housing wait list. And most importantly, we have 2,000 kids out of emergency housing in good, safe, dry homes.
Great. He Pātai Tāpiri, how, if at all, will the Prime Minister ensure that this growth that his government is chasing will be fairly distributed among New Zealanders?
Well, what we're not going to do is run the economy into the ground like the Labor Greens government did in the last administration. That's why we are working hard to give tax relief to everyday working New Zealanders. But I don't remember the Labor and Green government supporting that. I don't remember the Labor Green opposition supporting an increase of $17 billion into our healthcare system. I don't remember the Labor Greens government fixing emergency housing and saying it's okay to have 3,200 households raising their kids in motels. We find that unacceptable.
Put it simply, does the Prime Minister think that it is the job of government to reduce inequality?
It is the job of government to lift incomes for every New Zealander, and that's what we are doing. We are offering them tax relief, inflation relief, interest rate relief. We're managing the books well because if you care about vulnerable people, if you care about low and middle income working New Zealanders, you run the economy well, not into the ground like you lot did.
Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Is the Prime Minister telling Chloe Swabrick that we will not be following the Marxist model of wealth redistribution that she advocates?
Well, I'm just saying that we are not going to make the great leap backwards to socialism, for sure.
PRIVATISE tāpiri, why, after years of increases in economic growth, do the top 10% in this country hold almost 60% of the wealth?
Jealousy.
Look, I mean, in that question, what you see is not celebrating people who have been successful. You know, that is good. We want more ambition in this country. We want more aspiration. We want people to be successful. We want to celebrate that. That is a good thing. We have a fair tax system, as has been said before.
Why, in the face of the OECD...
Hang on. It's your own side.
I'm in the Greens, Mr Speaker.
Oh, you are quite right.
PRIVATISE tāpiri.
Nonetheless, some of your members are noisy as well. So please wait for quiet and then ask your question.
Why, in the face of the OECD stating, and I quote, focusing exclusively on growth and assuming that its benefits will automatically trickle down may undermine growth in the long run, is the Prime Minister convinced somehow that this time it will all just trickle down?
What I'm convinced of is running the economy like Labor Greens did over 6 years into the ground. We need growth in this economy. That is not a conversation point anymore. We need to grow so that we can actually create higher income jobs, put more money into people's pockets so they can deal with the cost of living. That's what we're focused on each and every day in this government. That member may not believe in growth, but growth is actually what helps low and middle income vulnerable New Zealanders get ahead.
By going for growth, does the Prime Minister mean growing inequality, growing poverty, growing homelessness, growing climate changing emissions?
It means lifting incomes for New Zealanders, which is what they care most about, so they can get ahead. They can work hard in a country, get ahead. They can actually feel safe in a country. They see great education, great healthcare. That's what we want for New Zealanders.
Climate change, detail.